Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining season 2 of Colts and Overcoming. Super excited today. I have two guests with me, joining me. They were actually on season 1, each did an interview. And I thought we would kind of discuss a little more in depth of what the rehab program part is of Restoration City. So I'm going to go ahead and welcome Kaylin and Amanda. Hello, guys. Excited to see y'all again. And thank y'all for coming back on. I thought we would just kind of discuss a little more in depth. Amanda, you went through the actual program part, and that took how long again? How long again?
It was 14 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were there for a couple of years. And Kaylin was born into this, but as she got older, got on staff, lived in the girls' dorm, became a girls' supervisor, and at the age of like 20, 21. So there's different aspects here, different views and stuff. So yeah, we'll just get started. And I guess I'll start with you, Amanda. Yeah, like I said, you were there for about 2 to 3 years, right? Or was it a little bit longer?
No, it was just short of 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so do you want to just kind of explain what a day
you would get up, they schedule you from the time you wake up till you go to bed. And for the first 2 weeks, you're monitored. You know what I mean? You have like a big brother or sister, depending on your gender. And so you wake up, you go to breakfast, unless you have to cook breakfast. And so then you would have to wake up even earlier. And there were times where we had to cook breakfast every single day. And it was an issue, like taking my kids ready for school. I had to go make breakfast. So I had to rely on my roommate, and that wasn't always ideal. And so you do breakfast, and then you come back and do whatever like chore you have, dorm duty. And then it's devotions. So you go read the word with whoever is scheduled, whatever person, and either the girls come together and the guys, or at the end of the week, it's like the girls and the guys. And like you have to dress up for devotions and for class in the morning. And then in the afternoon, you go change and go to work. So like they forced me to wear makeup and do my hair. I got in trouble for not wearing makeup.
Really?
What? Yeah. Dana gave me a demerit because I can be disorganized. That's not wrong. But it was me and 2 other guys there, and she's like, you just do better when you at least just put on a little mascara and lipstick. And I was like, okay. And I got demerit, and so I dressed up every day. I didn't like that demerit. It made me so mad.
I can't believe you got a demerit for not wearing makeup.
Yeah.
Like you're there to get off drugs or whatever your thing is, you're not there to put on makeup.
Yes.
And it's not like there's a lot of people there or something to like, oh my gosh.
I know.
So the afternoon was like the work crew time.
Yeah.
Guys were, if there were guys there, they were doing manual labor and stuff, right?
Yeah. The working whatever maintenance needed to be done around the campus, a lot of mowing, getting all the trash, that kind of stuff. And then the girls, we would either, if there were kids, we would do nursery or kitchen. And I mean, every once in a while there would be an odd job that they would have us do, but for the main part, it was just kitchen or nursery. So
did you ever see anyone going through withdrawals there or experience it yourself?
Yes, I did. I was actually I wasn't on anything that had extreme withdrawal when I went, and I was a week out. So I was, you know what I mean? I was already kind of detoxed for the most part. It wasn't too bad. And then, but that day I did have some stomach issues, but I did see people that absolutely had withdrawal from cigarettes, from there was a staff member that what they put back in the program. I think we talked about that last time. She had withdrawal from, it was her medication. She had anxiety. It was anxiety meds, and the doctor thought she needed it. She probably did. She's an older lady. and they just ripped her off of it. And you could literally you could die from that. You have to taper a year or something. So, and she was so sick, that poor lady. Because I asked her, I was like, so what do you take? And she told me, I'm like, yeah, no wonder you're like, she was like throwing up and still made her work and stuff.
Gosh. And they said they would, I don't know if they were still saying it then, but they always said, we're 30 years with no withdrawals whatsoever. They just always said that. And back then I was like, oh, because we didn't see a lot of that side of it, I guess. But now looking back, I'm like, for sure people were going through withdrawals. Just like you said, if you had been on pills for a certain amount of time or taking that kind of stuff, you're going to have some kind of side effects. I mean, right? I mean,
right. Oh yeah. And the doctor thought she needed it, and they're not doctors. She probably did. It was probably kept her sane. A lot of people do have anxiety, you know what I mean? And I'm on antidepressants, and they've helped me. They've saved me. And if I was still there, probably wouldn't have got that help from a doctor that I needed. So
yeah, for sure. Jeez. Oh my God. So I guess, oh yeah. So the class period, whenever, so it's like pretty much all morning long, right? That you're doing this, and you're doing these classes. You can tell me if I'm wrong or whatever, because I think it was a little bit different from when I was there. Okay. And then when you were there, but they do a bunch of these teachings where it's like you're memorizing scripture. Yeah. A lot of like Bill Gothard stuff. Yeah. And learning about like fruits of the spirit. It's just like constant memory of all this stuff. And then also reading books, right?
Yeah, we were required to read some of the most boring books. And I would actually read them. I don't know why. I should look back. I'm like, I should have skipped over a lot of those because and some of them were interesting. Like for example, the Screw Tape Letters, the C.S. Lewis, that's a really good book. It's like classic literature. So I kind of liked some of it, but most of it was like, I don't know what they were about. And I'm not dumb. You know what I mean? It was like, there was one about wineskins, and it was like, what?
Yeah. They would make us read
repetitive.
Yeah. They would make us read some of that stuff, and it would be so over my head. I'm like, what the? They're making these poor students read this crap. What is happening?
Yeah, they made me read those books too.
Yeah. They made what?
They made me read the books too.
Really?
On staff. And there was one, like there was one book that I will never forget. It was talking about like kids and raising kids and stuff. And it literally said, quote, I will never forget this. You must break a child's spirit.
Yeah.
In order for them to grow successfully. Wow. You must break their spirit. And that was like a big thing for me, because I was like, whoa, this is what we're reading.
Yeah.
That's intense.
That's crazy. Wow. Yeah, some of the teachings were pretty drastic. I mean, they taught a lot of Bill Gothard stuff. And if anybody doesn't know who he is an American Christian minister, speaker, and writer, and the founder of the Institute and Basic Life Principles. His conservative teachings encourage Bible memorization, large families, homeschooling, aversion to debt, respect for authority, conservative dress, and extended principles related to identity, family, education, healthcare, music, and finances. In 2014, he stepped down after multiple allegations of sexual harassment and molestation were made against him. In 2016, Gothard, he was sued by a group of alleged victims, and the lawsuit was dismissed because of statute of limitations.
Yeah.
I hate that statute of limitations crap.
Yeah, I do too.
So that's kind of who this person is. He's a well-known Christian minister in the Christian community, older guy. And so they used a lot of his teachings they do a lot of like fruit of the spirit, meaning it's like you had, I remember these sheets of papers they had that were like joy, love, peace, all those fruits of the spirit. And then they had like this thing under it where you had to memorize all of it. And, so a lot of his teachings, and then every summer the students, and then they also made us go to this seminar that was this week-long seminar, was all day long, and the most boring crap you've ever been through in your life. You're like, what is he talking about? I'm lost. It's over my head. And the whole time, this guy, it's like every other, this guy is harassing women and
yes,
them, and it's like, okay, that's what all our teachings are based on. You know? I mean, what
yes.
the
So boring too. And he would say his teachings were insane. He was like, Adam and Eve were never naked. They had
I don't remember that.
like their nakedness
Leaves
was
or something,
a
or
shining light. And he
okay.
would teach and it was, some of his stuff was so problematic, like masturbation was like you needed to like tell your kid they were going to hell if they did. It's problematic. It's like, I'm so glad that I didn't ever like that part. Like I even told Dana, I was like, I don't see why this man who's never been married, and I didn't even know he was a sex offender, but why are we listening to him? He's not married and he's giving us advice on marriage and kids. He has no kids. She's like, well, you just need to listen to the words and not the man. She told me. So I'm like, that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, really. When you don't have any of that experience, it's really hard to listen to that person.
Yeah.
And that just goes right into Kaylin. We're kind of on the other side of things. You grew up in this and everything, but you got on staff at a pretty young age. And do you want to kind of tell what that was like when you moved into the girls' dorm area and kind of what your responsibilities were?
Well, the biggest thing was just that I was still 20 at the time when I did move in, and I was just thrown into it. Like there was no prep, there was no like, hey, you should probably read these books first. Hey, you should probably take these classes first. It was like, okay, you're moving in now and you're like doing this. And I didn't even know all the rules. Like they gave me a student handbook, but they didn't go over anything with me. They didn't talk to me about what I was supposed to do, and I'm like a kid still, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I was also like just getting out of college at the same time. And it was really a move that I did because I didn't know what else to do.
Mm-hmm.
I was done with college, and this opportunity was open because they needed people, and I didn't want to live at my parents' house, but I was also too scared to go anywhere else because I didn't have the skills for it. You know what I mean? Because that's not how you're brought up there. And so it was kind of just like, well, this is a lot better than what I'm doing right now. And so I moved in, and I was with two single moms. Well, one of them wasn't single, her husband was there, but they were living in the dorm together, and then I moved in with them.
Did you feel any pressure to go in that position, or was it just you mainly, like you wanted to experience something different?
I mean, the pastor's daughter did kind of influence this decision. She would kind of make comments and stuff, like suggesting like, well, you should just move down here because, you're done with school. So, like kind of pushed me to that like conclusion, I think, without like directly telling me like, hey, you should do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was, did you have to like counsel or anything, or like, because you're not prepared for this, and this is what they did. They would take a lot of the young people and put them in these positions that they should not have been in. They put us, like the ones of us that traveled on Straightway and stuff and that danced and sang and all that. I mean, there was like 5 or 6 of us girls that when we were traveling, we were back home and we were on staff and we were counseling these women, and 2 of the girls actually ended up being dorm supervisors and living in there. And we hadn't been through a lot of experiences in our lives when we were little kids, we saw some horrible shit, but since then, like we hadn't experienced or dated or anything, or like been addicted to drugs, or like these women are going through so much stuff already. That you have these girls who are 16, 17, 20 telling these older women like, serve God, have faith, like you can get off these drugs, you don't need to masturbate.
Hey, you can't have that snack. Like I felt so
to me if you do that. Oh my God, I forgot about that. Okay, so we used to have to confess, like if we ever did that, or like, but then we were hearing these women confess to us if they masturbated. Like, it was like,
That's weird.
we should not be in this position hearing this stuff.
That is so weird.
So were you ever like having to counsel and stuff, Kaylin, or in that kind of position?
I did like sit in on a couple of counseling sessions, but I never like did them. And it only had to do with because it was like a girl that lived with me and I was supposedly a witness to some of this stuff. So I was supposed to sit in with the leader and back them up, I guess, because they would say that we were not allowed to count them with only one person. They would tell me that two people had to be there. So every once in a while I would ask to be the second person just to be there. It didn't happen many times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you ever go on any home visits, they called it?
Only when I left.
Huh?
Only when I left. I went on a home visit.
Okay.
Yeah, when I went on the home visit and never came back except with a U-Haul.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. So they would have us, it didn't happen a lot, but they would have a couple of us go on a home visit, meaning like a student that was going through this program. And like it's a year to 2 years. So every once in a while, when you got to a certain level, you were able to go home for a week or two. So you would have a big brother or sister go with you that was in the program, or like a girls' dorm supervisor, something like that. And there were a couple of times that they had us do that, which I really don't think they should have. First of all, the one time I did it, I was only 16, 17, maybe a little bit older. And I just didn't have enough experience to deal with being in that realm and everything. And we were gone for like 2 weeks. And the girl that I went with, she was super cool. And her mom was just so nice. Her family was so nice and all that. But I think I was just so out of my element. You know, we lived in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, we traveled a lot and stuff, but when we traveled, it was with a group of like 10 to 20 people. You were with really close friends, and then family, even some of your family would be there. So it was literally like you were all on your own, and I'm in this new like realm and environment. I didn't know how to take it, and she's going through a hard time. She's, you know, that there's some things she's dealing with, and I'm trying to sit there and pray with her and encourage her, and I'm going in my head, I'm like, I don't know what to tell her. Oh my God, like, I've never experienced any of this stuff. So there were a couple times towards the end of the trip that I called my family, or I called one of my friends back there and just like kind of crying, going, I miss everyone so much. I mean, but that was the extent of it. Like, I really miss everyone. And like, I don't remember much more after that. But when I got home, right when I got home, I got pulled into counseling like right away. And pretty much I was told that I was very ungrateful and that I was acting gay towards the person that I had called. Like, I'm on the phone with them saying, I miss you, but it wasn't in that way. And not even if it was, who freaking cares? But it was just like, I was so out of my element. I don't know how else to explain it, but I was so out of my element that like, I didn't know what to do or what to say. And so yeah, she's telling me like over and over, you're being gay towards that person and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like bawling my eyes out. Like, I don't know even how to respond to this. And so afterwards I had to go ask everyone's forgiveness, the people I was with, the friend that I called, and it was just the most bizarre, weird thing. And even if I was acting a little strange with you know, I did feel a little bad, like towards the family or whatever that I was with. I mean, the family was super nice and everything. I know it was just, I should not have been put in that position in the first place.
Right.
Exactly.
You go there. I mean, this is a girl getting off drugs and alcohol, whatever else, and I haven't experienced. I've never did a drug in my life. I wasn't an alcoholic. Like, so yeah, I just should not. I didn't have any experience in that, and so yeah, after that, I was just, man. That, I think that was one of the times I started seeing kind of somewhat of a red flag. Like, why am I getting in trouble for this? For calling someone and telling them that I miss them? But it just did not make sense. You're being rained over the coals and yelled at, just all this stuff. Anyways, just going along with what you were saying, Kaylin, just about, you know, it should be trained professionals, therapists, and
Yes.
physicians, you know? Shouldn't be freaking kids who don't know what the hell they're doing. Like, so yeah, do you have anything to that, Kaylin?
Well, I was asked to do a lot as a staff member, and I think it was mainly because there wasn't really very many people there. And I was somebody that was very able-bodied and able to get up and go and do something, you know. But it's a lot of like ableism going on there. Like, just because you have the ability to do something for them means that you're supposed to. And
Right.
like whatever you have planned with your family doesn't matter to them. Whatever's going on with your family doesn't matter to them. It's just ableism. They expect you to do it because you have the ability to.
Because you can.
If you don't do it, then there's something wrong with you. You must be in sin because you're not participating like you should. But participation to them is to be on the clock 24/7.
Yes.
On call, no matter what's going on. Like, you should be down there immediately. And it's just very like, there's no respect for the staff members that they have. They don't get paid anything. And they're not appreciated, and they're treated almost as badly as the students are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How much were you getting paid again?
$100 a week.
Oh my God. Yeah, you can't live off of that. I mean, my Lord. So what did you, Amanda, like, what did you think, like, of like some of the staff and stuff? You're being, I guess, you're probably being counseled by some of these people, and you're just.
Well, I was the only girl until I was a big sister. So the only people that ever counseled me was the staff. I was always the like oldest girl in the program, or they're the longest. So it was a little bit different, but they definitely used me that same way she was saying, just work. I would have like nervous breakdowns all the time, just being so tired, and it wasn't enough. Like, I was told that I was sleeping too much, but like I was tired when I had downtime because they worked us to death, and I feel it was just a lot. They expect it. If you can do it, you're gonna do it, and if you don't, then they do. My roommate and like I said, my mentor had sat me down and counseled me because I wasn't doing enough, they said.
And that you weren't doing enough?
Yeah, they said I was sleeping too much, and that I would just get up and leave and go visit my family, and without telling anyone, and that was a problem because I was part of the church, and I needed to basically ask David permission. My mentor had given me an example. She was like, and this is my mentor from like when they put me in reentry and I graduated, or this was I was still in reentry. So anyway, they sat me down and just told me I wasn't doing enough, and that I needed to ask permission, and that she gave me an example of her life. Like, when she goes out of town, she has to ask for permission because she has responsibilities. And at this point, I hadn't committed myself to anything, or like join the church. They wanted me to join the church, or Rebecca did. And I hadn't done any of that. I didn't really want to make that commitment for that reason, but it was just expected of me. And like, I just would go along with it and comply. And they also, another thing they did was like, the accountability was insane. Like, I would get in trouble for not telling on these girls for eating snacks. Just the most dumb. They wouldn't let this one mom work out in the morning. Like, and she did so much better when she got to exercise. I mean, it's important for a lot of people. Like, it helps me with my mental health. And they were like, well, she had a lot of kids. You have a lot on your plate already, so you don't need to be exercising in the morning. She'd do it anyway, and I wouldn't. I'm not going to tell someone.
That's really funny, because the second daughter, the one that you were talking about, that's what she does for a living.
I know, that made no sense to me.
That's really
made no sense.
She talked to me about that situation. She would always like talk to me in the office. Like, I would walk in there and she would be like, oh, guess what's going on with this student? Like, it's totally a gossip show in there. Like, I would walk in there and sit down, and she would be like, oh my God, guess what this student wants to do? And I wanted, like, I don't care what the student wants to do. Like, that's none of my business. But, you know, she was like, she wants to exercise in the morning. She's got 4 kids. Why does she want to do that? And like talk so nasty about people. And it's a program.
I can't believe she said that, because that is her job, exercising.
Well, it was something about like that she's already got so much on her plate.
Yeah,
and I want to
that's
be like,
what
yeah,
they told me.
that y'all are putting on her plate.
Yeah.
You know, like all the classes,
even,
all the prayers, all the, like, you have
everything.
to be at all the meals, you have to help cook breakfast, you have to do this, you have to do that. And so you have no time to exercise. You have no time to take care of yourself. Like,
that's terrible.
so backwards.
Isn't that what kind of rehab is supposed to kind of be? You're like bettering yourself. Yeah, you're
Right, yes.
You're trying to get rid of those bad habits. And so one of the better things you can do is work out.
Well, this girl wasn't even in the program. She was there for her husband, for moral support. He was struggling, and she was a teacher. She was like homeschooled. She was amazing, like just could do everything. But I mean, to a point where they put too much on you. And I don't understand why they did that to her and then weren't more accommodating, and they just treated her like a student, and it was so awkward. So here I am, and I lived with her trying to hold this woman who's got her stuff together better than I do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Have struggles and everything, but she, as far as addiction and all that stuff goes, I mean, she had never even experienced that kind of thing. She had her stuff together. She was just there, you know, like I said, for moral support for her family, you know.
So
and
was she,
it was bad.
Was she getting paid anything, or
no.
So then why were they making her do all this stuff because they're living there maybe or something?
She wanted that because she wanted to go through the program, and she was really devout in her faith. And the way they presented it to her was like, okay, this discipleship program, she's an educator, and she likes to learn. So it in theory and on paper, I think it really looked good to her. And I can understand, like, if it was something legit, that would be right up that kind of person's alley. So I understood, but like, she left right before I did. And I told her, I said, if I were you, I would not stay here.
Yeah.
They had separated her and her husband. Of course, they won't let them talk to each other. And then they kind of like put him in the women's dorm overnight. And at that point, she was like, I had told her, I said, I'm leaving with my husband. And if I were you, I would not stay.
Mm-hmm.
And she left as well.
Well, good.
Yeah. And they came and asked me, did you know anything? I'm like, no, I don't know anything.
They asked me too. They were like, do you know anything about Amanda talking to this girl before she left? And I was like, no. No.
I sure
know about everyone. Like, they would ask every single person on staff, like, do you know anything? Did you hear anything? Did they say anything to you? Mm-hmm. Have you heard anything? And it's always so desperate. Like, they're like trying to cover everything up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The food and stuff. Y'all were getting within the kitchen and stuff, y'all were getting a lot of donations, right?
Yes.
Well, I know that there were girls that were told to pick out like the steaks from the donations to send over to the pastor's house.
Oh yeah, definitely. That was a bunch of BS.
Yeah, like they would pick out all the good steaks and send it up to the pastor's house. Like, the students can't have the steaks; they're for the pastor.
Yeah. And they would always say that he's going to cook them for us and have us over, but he only did that one time, and it was with the guys. And he was like, I need to have you and Rebecca over for dinner. I'm like, okay.
It's like the same thing he would do with like the pills coming in, like when the students like had their medications and everything.
Oh my goodness.
They took it from there. Oh, they did all kinds of stuff. Like we when we were traveling on the road and stuff, a lot of the stuff that we did for schools in the Valley, South Texas. So at that time, going over the border like was not a big deal. So we would go over to Mexico like anytime we were down there. And then what the main leader of that team, it wasn't DK, but someone else, he would go over there and he would come back with all this stuff. And at the time, I was too young and naive to realize what it was. But yeah, they were getting all these pain medications and stuff, and they were bringing it back to DK to other elders in the church and stuff.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, he's probably still taking that stuff. I mean, that's what
seems like it. Yeah, it definitely seems like it. He sweats a lot. His people is real. Well, I know because I used to take a lot of pills myself, you know.
Yeah,
so I know what it looks like. And I mean, I always kind of suspected that, but at the same time, he's really old. So when I was there, I just chalked it up to that. Maybe he's got a bunch of health issues, but apparently it's an ongoing thing.
Mm-hmm.
He was old.
What I still kind of find so funny is that why isn't it the same period of time for everyone? Why isn't it like 3 months, 6 months, a year? It all seems to be different times. Like, I think my family went through the program about a year, and some people it seems like a year and a half to 2 years. Is it just based on what God tells them?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's exactly what they say. Yeah.
God told me
every person needs a different amount of time. That's what they told.
Yeah.
Oh,
they're
Lord.
like, every person.
My God.
Some people may need 2 years, and some people may only need 12 months. You know,
but this is like
things. But the people that they would let stay longer, like the people that they would have stay longer, were the people that could pay.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say.
No matter like what it did to them, they would have them stay because they had the ability to pay, even if it emptied their bank account.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They would just continue telling them, you're not in reentry yet. There was a family there that was there for so long, and they still were not in reentry for about 16 months.
Jeez,
17 months.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Like, and the husband of that family was disabled.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They were taking the disabled paycheck.
Yeah. They wiped it out one time and tried to kick him out that day.
Yeah.
And then they were taking his disability check.
Yes.
What?
All of it.
They were
allowed to
they
do
kept
that?
raising it on them. They kept telling them they had to pay a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more. And then they were finally like, we're not paying anymore. And then they told them that they had to leave.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Wait, are they allowed to take the disability check from if you're in a program like that?
I have no idea.
They
do it.
Weird.
They take all kinds of stuff for payment.
Yeah, but how can they? Oh my God! Did he give it the like? Okay, you can take this. The guy that had the disability.
Yeah, for rent. But I think he had agreed to a certain amount, and then they would just jack it up.
They kept raising it and kept raising it.
Yeah. I think what they do is they realize how much he's getting, or they realized how much he was getting on the card. So they were like, oh, we're going to take all of this. You know what I mean? They probably started him out at a baseline. And then, so I thought.
That's insane. That's crazy. I feel like that's like illegal or something.
But the thing is that when they stood up to them and told them that they weren't going to pay that anymore, that it needed to go back down, they kicked them out of the program.
Jeez.
Told them they were being released from the program and that they did not finish.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And said that they had like one day, like a couple days to get out.
Wow. Man. So sad, because if it's really actually supposed to be about genuinely helping people, then it shouldn't be about that. Yes, you need the funds to have the place open and pay rent and pay all that stuff. But at the same time, if it's really about helping people, and then like it just, oh my God, wow.
They rake in a lot too. You can see on Facebook, like they'll put out a fundraiser. It's not really GoFundMe, but you can just start one on Facebook. And there's those, and they'll raise a couple of $1,000s just for no reason. When the pandemic happened, help us raise money because there's a pandemic. I mean, nothing had changed at the center. There was no reason for they needed a couple $1,000s.
And who does that really go to?
Probably the person that made the fundraiser.
Yeah.
Probably the person that didn't have clients because of a pandemic.
Ooh,
I think it's going to those. I think it's going to those steak dinners.
Woo!
The steak
That was
dinners.
actually charity. The steak's charity.
Yeah.
They were like, it was literally share for being a charity, for being a nonprofit. They would get that's how they qualified for those Walmart steaks.
Oh my
but
God.
but at the same time, they had custody of everyone's food stamp card that had a food stamp card.
Yeah.
I was sitting in the office one day and the lady over the kitchen comes in with like 8 food stamp cards and puts them all down on the table and calls every single one of them to find out how much money is on them. And she's writing it down on each one of the like slips with the card and writes down how much. And she's like, okay, great. And puts the phone down and leaves.
So do they give their stamp?
I've gone to the store for the kitchen before, and I did not use a food stamp card.
That's so strange.
The only thing that they used that I know of that they use the food stamp card for was when some of the students wanted like snacks and stuff. They would go to the store, like they would send a staff member to the store to get like toiletries and soap and things that they needed. And sometimes they would let them get snacks for like Sunday night. They would watch a movie and be able to eat snacks. And so they would use the food stamp cards for that. But other than that, they did not use the food stamp cards for the kitchen food. Every time I went to the store, like to pick up a couple things for the kitchen that they needed for dinner that night, it was with the church card.
What do you think?
So they had like one.
They weren't being used for the center. They were being used for something else. That's all that I will say, because I don't know what they're
probably staff members, or probably just
all the staff members are probably using the food stamps to buy their own food.
That's crazy. So are they
them all on like one account? So nonprofits do get a certain kind of food stamps. Like it's a whole different thing. So it is legal, but they should be feeding the students. It's legal to have the food stamps the way they did it for profit, but it's illegal for them to be using it for their own personal food. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's messed up.
So they need to be, if they have it in their hands, they need to be taking it to buy food for the students.
Yeah, right.
Not for their own. That's
now,
really
I don't know
strange.
if they are like for sure using it for their own food. That's just the only thing I can think of that they would.
But why else then? But then, yeah, why else?
It's not being used for the kitchen.
They be using it for them, you know? It doesn't make sense.
So anyway, I'll never forget her. Just get all the cards, all the number. All right, this one's got this much. Like I'm sitting there, and she's doing this, and I'm like, okay. And that was like at the time when I really started being like, something's really not right.
Like, she's like, man, this is in her head. Like, this is some popcorn. This is the chocolate, milk, some cookies. Everything. But I do want to ask this. I don't know if I asked you this, Amanda, in the interview you did. When you first went to experienced a church service, what did you think? Like, were they still doing Song of the Lord then?
Well, it wasn't. I grew up in the Assembly of God, so I was just very well versed in the whole thing. It was just boring. Like I liked the praise and worship because Kaylin was up there. I did.
Oh, you were doing it. Yeah, that's right.
We all enjoyed the praise and worship. I think everybody did it. It was really good. But then
it was me.
Like the sermons were rough. I mean, it was the same thing. And like if you're there for more than a season, so you're there one Christmas, it'll be a sermon. Next Christmas, same sermon.
But he does that the whole year.
Yeah.
He has sermons for the whole year, and he just keeps doing them over and over and over and over and over again. Like every year of my life, I just heard the same sermons because he doesn't never write any new sermons. But I still don't understand them, and I've heard them all like 20 times.
They're not good. They're not very enlightening at all.
No.
Well, on top of it all, too, he's just not a good speaker. He literally sounds so boring. It's like, I mean, his own kid, I will never forget this. It's one of his sons. He's doing his sermon. We're all falling asleep. His son was sitting in the very back. Oh my God. We were laughing so hard. He's going like to his dad, like, wrap it up. Wrap it up. But he was the only kid that could get away with doing that because he came and kind of listened to him or kind of be like, oh, okay. Like, I mean, it was just, you fell asleep every time. And if you did not come to church, you got called after.
Yeah.
Or someone came over to your house. Why didn't you come to church? It was like, bitch, I don't want to go through your same thing. Or the song of the Lord. The song of the Lord, which was that we all had to sing our part, give our part.
Yeah, your measure.
Oh. Yeah. But they all too is the same thing with the song of the Lord. They all sang about the same thing, about the river of God coming through. And the waterfall and the fire.
Marching in the army.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, if y'all don't have too much more to add, I just yeah, it's fine if this one is a little bit shorter. I just kind of wanted to go a little more in depth of just kind of what the rehab part actually is. And I will say this, recently I was discussing what an actual rehab is with a good guy friend of mine because he's been through it a few times. And I was just asking different questions like, how long was it? Like, what was it like there? And I like, he's heard me talk somewhat about this. He's like, no, it's nothing like that. And literally he would go from like a month to 3 months at a time. And he's like, you know, you go to classes, you go to, it's a lot of therapy. You go to therapy, you go to, I'm pretty sure you could probably work out and stuff too, but it's nothing like the indoctrination of what the center is, or like these intense work crews, or which I do think, look, I think that manual labor, I think that is good. I think it's good to have a good work ethic. I think that is all very good to learn, but you shouldn't be indoctrinated in these things when you're trying to get off drugs and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yes, you need to help better your life, and physically you should do stuff to help with that, working out and all that stuff. But
you should also feel like the people that are there on staff should like you should feel like the people on staff have your back. You know, like they're really there to help you, and the staff there does not give the students those vibes, does not show the students that they really care about them. And the students coming in there, and they have all kinds of different experiences. They've been through all kinds of trauma, all kinds of stuff, and they come to this place that makes them feel like something else is about to happen. Because people are not behind their back. They're not behind their back, but like people don't have their back. People are not looking out for them. When they're being mistreated, nobody is coming to defend them. And I tried to be that person. When I was on staff, I saw a staff member like basically verbally abusing the students, and it would be the men and the women. But she would like bust up in the girls' dorms without knocking and like yell at them, scream at them, go and interrogate them. And like she wasn't even like one of the top staff people.
She was very new. She
had gone through the program like a long time ago
in 88
and left. And then she just like had recently come back and like walked around like she ran the place. And I went to her because I was like, she's mistreating them. Like, does nobody see that? Does nobody see that she's mistreating them? Like she's talking to them like they're a piece of crap. And these people have been through like who knows what. And so the last thing they need is for one of like the women's dorm supervisors to be pushing them around. You know what I mean? And so I went to like several staff members. There were at least 5 different staff members I went to, telling them the same thing. She's doing this, this, and this. I gave very specific examples and things that were said, and they would tell me that she's new. She's new, Kaylin. So you're more mature in the Lord than she is. So, you know, you have to set the example for her. I'm 21. Like, why do I have to set an example for a grown ass lady?
Yeah.
Treat people like basic human beings.
Horrible.
Like, it's not even like they're mistreated. They're just not even treated like human beings. They're treated like animals. They're being kept in these rooms, and like they have to be there, and then they have to be at the meal, and they have to be over here, and they have to be working. And if they're not, then they are like, they must be doing something behind our back if they're not doing every little thing that we say. And it's just too much.
Yes. And I can say the person she's talking about she made my life hell. She was my roommate, and I was, I think I don't know. Like I said, I was close to graduation. And so she didn't really have to watch me or anything, but she was horrible. She made us so uncomfortable. Like she would just come and just stare at us. We weren't allowed to sit on her furniture. She moved all her furniture in, and we weren't allowed to sit on it or use her television or anything. And I went and cried to David's daughter and was like, please, she's bullying me. I'm so intimidated. I can't relax when I come home from work. I have no peace. And she was like, well, you know what? Just bring it to her. She said, God will work this out for you. I can't really help you, basically. I mean, with me, but she was like, just bring it to her, because you have a problem, and it'll fix itself. And it didn't. It did not. Luckily, they moved me out of there because they needed me
and they moved me in.
Yeah, they did.
That was so rude. So they move Amanda out and they moved me in. Yeah. And so then I lived with her for like 3-4 months. And it was the same thing. Like, she was a little more lenient towards me, but I think it's because of the relationship she had with my mother. If you know, you know. Yeah. But she was very like all about her stuff. She didn't want anybody touching her stuff. But she's a dorm supervisor. You know what I mean? Like,
and there's a baby in there. She was the reason why this girl left, I think, 3 times. They put her with her 3 times, and she had a 2-year-old, and the 2-year-old was 2, and he was a mess, just like any other 2-year-old. And she just made this girl cry, and like, it was just a big mess. She just bullied her, and she was like very intimidating person. And so she just like, I don't understand why they put this poor girl with her 3 different times. So it was just really hard. It was a really hard situation living with her. I think that was my worst roommate.
Is that the same person that you're talking about that sent me a message?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this person, God, it's been a few months now, sent me a message through Facebook, basically telling me off about all these videos and how I'm going to have to answer to God, and that this is all a joke, and we will have to answer to God for what we're doing. That these things should not be exposed. I'm like, oh, well,
maybe you want to stay in the dark, but some of us don't want to.
So I pretty much just said, thank you so much for your view. I appreciate it.
Right?
You're still watching though.
Oh, that's awesome.
Lordy.
It's karma, I feel like.
Karma is a bitch. I mean, no other way to say it. All right. Well, thank y'all so much for coming on. And I'm sure soon here we might do another one with a few people on and everything. I love catching up and hearing everybody's side and everything. It's very interesting that even though I was there 15, 20 years ago, it's still the same stuff going on, but thank y'all so much. And just want to say to everyone out there, thank you for listening. And we're going to have some more episodes coming out within the next couple of months as well. There is a Facebook page now that you can like under Colton Overcoming. All the stuff you can find as well on YouTube. And hope everyone has a good evening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.